One day I woke up and asked myself a very important question. Can I beat Skyrim with only an iron dagger? Before we get started, let's lay out some rules. I can only damage enemies with the iron dagger. Healing potions and spells are allowed. And there will be no speedrunning skips used. I figured doing such a thing would kind of make it unfair. With those rules in place, we can begin. So the start of this challenge is fairly normal. I take a cart ride with three amazing people. Loke here, that stud muffin extraordinaire from Rorikstead. Yes, that was an Edit Scrolls reference, and no, I don't feel sorry for it. And two other people who overall have very little story significance. After arriving at our destination, I watch the saddest event in gaming history, and then proceed to build my character. I make him a blue Argonian named Vaporeon, because I think it's funny, and Vaporeon is one of the best Pokemon ever. Changed my mind. After 10 minutes of designing my character, God Howard decides it must die. So I reluctantly step up to the chopping block. As my fate is nearly sealed, I am saved by my arch rival, and proceed to make a run for it. As a kid, I was so happy to learn that you can just run past every Alduin encounter in Helgen, and I just kind of bolt for the keep. Once we're in the keep, I allow Ralof to unbind these rated E for everyone hands and proceed to set on them. I decide to dance around for a bit while I wait for Ralof to kill the captain of the guard so I can get her gear. She held the item that will stay with me for all but 7 minutes of this run, my iron dagger. I also make sure to take the key since it'll be important later. After I let Ralof kill the other guard, I proceed to set up the cheese. So, during this part of the game, Ralof is entirely invulnerable and won't aggro on you no matter what you do. On top of that, his perception is that of a dead fish, so you can use him for grinding your sneak very, very easily. I set up my auto-clicker and go to bed for my usual 3.5 hours of sleep. After that break, let's take a look at my stats. As we can see, my one-handed is now at 33 and my sneak is at 100. On top of that, Vaporeon's overall level is now 18. That last bit actually makes this run way harder than it needed to be. So anyone who is mad I exploited the game will be pleased later. Though, if you could still comment about it, that'd be fantastic. Next, I head down into the keep and execute several Imperials in a bout of what can only be called beautiful irony. I then assassinate some spiders and successfully pet a bear without being detected. I then sneak out and run to the unassuming town of Riverwood. There, I head to Gerder to inform her that a building-sized dragon that was loudly roaring did indeed fly overhead. As I am talking to her, I get this great shot of Ralof arriving and just standing there menacingly. I think he needs Gerder to be free of talking to continue his scene, but since I'm there, I just kind of broke it, and he sits there like a lost puppy. Either way, Gerder gives me my first major quest. Seek the Jarl of Whiterun and inform him of the dragon. But I decided a mountaineering adventure sounded way more fun than dealing with any amount of bureaucracy. On the trip up the mountain, I find the first hint that being overleveled may in fact be a detriment to my survivability. A frost troll spawned on the path up the Bleak Falls Barrow and honestly scared the hell out of me. Here I am, in leather armor, with a rusting iron dagger, and in front of me is a regenerating freight train that could probably kill me with one hit. After giving it a slight back massage, I decide to run up the mountain and get clear of it. After running, I sneak into the Barrow, and it's overall fairly easy, though the end had something in store for me. But before that, I stab some bandits, I then stab some rats, and then I run from a spider after freeing a coward. I make sure to kill Arvel so he cannot alert any Draugrs. I sneak past all the Draugrs in the Barrow before I enter this massive chamber. And from the casket emerges the embodiment of all of my sins, the Draugr Scourge Lord, who is way too overleveled for me to kill. What? I said he was too overleveled for me to kill. 30 pounds of cold iron does a lot of work. I take the dragon stone off his corpse, and with this, I'm ready to meet the second most majestic man in the entire realm, Balgruff. Rest in peace, Lokir. Before meeting such a man, I donned my fashionable armor that the blacksmith was holding on to for me. The Jarl tells us to go talk to the wizard since we may be able to help him. After throwing my stone at Fafnir's face, we are summoned to talk to the Jarl again. And, yes, horror of horrors, there's a dragon attack in my dragon game about dragons. We head out to the western watchtower where this dragon attack is supposedly happening. Upon arriving, the leader of the Blue Woman crew tells us to fan out and search the ruins for survivors. After a bit of time passes, the biggest headache of this run emerges. And that's not a joke. It's mostly downhill from here, but this fight genuinely sucked. I did such pitiful damage and was killed so quickly. Since this dragon was level 2 me, it decided to throw a frost dragon at me. Cheaters never prosper, kids. But turning down a difficulty to novice isn't really cheating now, is it? After several deaths, even on novice, I was finally able to kill the beast, and then proceeded to report back to the Jarl. But on the way, I hear a rather annoying sound. Yeah. No. That feels so much better. After dealing with a small discrepancy, the Jarl thanks me for my service, and with that, I'm sent out for new horizons. That's right, it's crime time. I book a one-way trip to Windhelm and visit a mentally disturbed young boy stabbing a skeleton. He asked me to kill the patron of an orphanage because she was abusive. And in case you're curious about my perspective on child abuse, he thanks me for a job well done and invites me to dinner, but since I'm in a bit of a rush to get kidnapped, I just take a plate to go. After taking a snooze, I wake up in what is admittedly an upgrade from my current apartment. This lady who sits on top of a bookshelf tells me I need to kill somebody to repay my debt for killing someone. After informing her that adding negatives doesn't work like that, she lashes out and I have to put her down and free the 3 hostages. Now that I am wearing the outfit that I came here for, I set off for the main quest yet again. I decide I don't really like the idea of climbing the endless steps to visit the Greybeards, so I decide to go on mountain climbing trip to Electric Boogaloo. Sadly, I learned that you can't climb the mountain this way and concede to take the stairs. Pro tip, on the way up you can kill Baknar with 0 witnesses and he's always carrying roughly 100 iron arrows, which can help if you aren't limited to what is effectively an iron toothpick. I was really proud of killing the snow cat. Honestly, I thought it would kill me. With my confidence bolstered, I stare down my new enemy, this frost troll, and do the one thing I know I can do. Run away. Now that I've ascended the mountain, the old men decide that I need to prove to them that I am truly worthy of this epic quest, that I am truly the almighty Dragonborn in the only way that I can. With that light jog, I prove that I am worthy of taking up yet another fetch quest. Ustengrav is overall fairly simple. Between sneaking, running, and stabbing, I'm able to get through all the trials and get the honor of being told that I failed. Much to no one's shock, the horn of Jorgen Windcaller was stolen, and the perpetrator invited me to visit them in Riverwood. While there, I see some cultists looking at me funny, so I quickly run into the nearest shop to sell things and avoid the awkward conversation. Once I leave the shop, I sneak away from the cultists and enter the bar to follow up on that note from earlier. It turns out the one who stole the horn was Delphine. But upon talking to her, she immediately gives me the horn, which is a really bad idea if she wanted to use it as a bartering chip to keep me around. But I decided I like the idea of hunting dragons, so I choose to stay with her. And guess what? She wants me to hunt a dragon. We chase it down, and horror of horrors, yet again, it's Odahviing. And we can finally have our climactic battle. Oh wait, he just shoves me to the ground and forces me to fight his friend. And after about 326 stabs, we successfully defeat the dragon. With this, we are able to conclude that it was entirely the Thalmor's fault. We just need evidence. We agree to meet up in Riverwood and plan our strategy against the Thalmor, to our 100% justified suspicion. The cultists are still there, so I find a unique way to avoid yet another social interaction. Once inside, we plan an infiltration of the Thalmor embassy. So, I book a carriage ride to Solitude's main gate and ignore the execution. After talking to Malborn, he suggests that I should give up my dagger. The madman. But in order to have my dagger later, I relinquish all 9 of my iron daggers, to ensure I have enough backups, of course. I proceed to run naked through the town and get back to Delphine, who makes me put some clothes on. I arrive fashionably late to the party and proceed to speedrun ruining it by giving the alcoholic even more wine. We sneak into the back while our boy parties up a storm. I retrieve my gear and it's off to the races. After assassinating a few guards, I sneak outside and all hell breaks loose. Blades, arrow, and fire flying everywhere. The healing spell really comes in handy here, keeping me alive as I put all the elves in the ground. Once inside, I find a few books before proceeding into the dungeon. After a bit of a scuffle, I break free, ignore the troll, and head outside. I go back to Riverwood and the cultists are still there, so I use the tried and true method of walking around them, and it works like a dream. Delphine tells me I need to bust an old man out of jail in Ripton. I try to gain access to the dungeon, but Brynjolf requires me to help him out. One botched pickpocket attempt later, and I'm admitted into the Thieves Guild. I ignore everyone and head directly into the Warrens. Once we find him, the old man unlocks all 80 of the locks on his door. We head in, tell him why we're here, and he is hyped to get back outside and fight some dragons. We fight our way out of the Warrens and go to visit Delphine. But before that, I am forced to talk to the cultists who I've been avoiding through this entire playthrough. Let's just say that didn't go too well. Delphine decides that we need to go read a wall for some reason, so I book a carriage ride to Markarth and take, let's just say, a unconventional route into the cave. After solving some basic puzzles, I decide to slash my hand for some reason. We go in and read the wall for what takes far too long, and learn that mankind once stopped Odahviing by shouting very, very loudly. So I decide it's time to go talk to the old men who love shouting. They tell me they don't like me enough to tell me anything about it, but their founder may know. I fight my way up the mountain some more and talk to Mario Jumpman Mario. He tells me that I would need an Elder Scroll to watch the HD 4K VR experience required to learn Dragonrend. I'm told to hit up the College of Winterhold, meaning that it is the premier house of books in Skyrim. Upon getting to the gate, I am told that I need to be able to cast the Fear spell to enter the college, which requires 134 magicka. I currently have 100 magicka, and there's no way of increasing my mana pool, or decreasing the cost of the spell enough for me to be able to cast it. After what was effectively a 17-minute hunt, and accidentally stealing some stuff from Solitude, I was able to get enough stuff to be able to cast the spell, which literally cost me all of my money. I go upstairs to the Arcanium, where Urag just hands me another scroll. No, I didn't skip. I just don't want to talk about Septimus or any of the Dwemer ruins, so please just kind of let me have this. If next time you would rather me talk about Septimus or the Dwemer ruins, just leave it in the comment section down below and I'll make sure to do it. With that easily gotten Elder Scroll, I go back up to the throat of the world yet again, But this time, I watched that show that I've heard everyone's been talking about. After watching some Nords fight, Alduin attacks. Now it's time for our climactic final showdown. I use Dragonrend over and over and over and over. And eventually he gets tired and just runs away. Huh. Seems a bit lame, but hey, I get bragging rights. Mario recommends we catch a dragon in the Wooden Palace, which is, by all accounts, a brilliant idea. Sadly, the second best Chad in all of Tamriel wants to ensure peace before he is willing to help us. I go talk to Ulfric and Tullius, which convinces both parties to go to this peace meeting. After a bit of deliberation, they decide to trade useless land so I can move on with the main story. I go to Whiterun and call for Odahviing, who absolutely ruins this poor guard who was just doing his job. I hit the dragon with Dragonrend and force him to land. Since he isn't really known for his brain, he follows me right into the trap. After a bit of convincing, he agrees to lead me directly to Alduin's main base. Once arriving, Skywing Hunter leaves, and I resolve to bolt through the base entirely. I'm primarily passive, except for this one guy who has a key, so, sorry, he needs to go. And this puzzle right here was a bit of a headache. Not because I don't know how to solve it, but because I was dancing around so many enemies and just needed to read. I sprint into the portal and arrive in the afterlife. Soon, make sure I am worthy. Once he's bleeding out from 27 stab wounds, he lets me walk across the extremely perilous ribcage bridge. Which, can I just say, I really need some answers here. There are so many holes that you can just fall through. I would assume so many people have died here. What happens if you fall from the bridge in the afterlife? I guess questions God will never tell us. Inside the Hall of Valor, God tells me I need to strike down Alduin. The Nords who failed last time should surely help me win this time, so we group up and set out for our final adventure. And this battle really summarizes all of my issues with this run. The Iron Dagger makes this battle just take ages. And since I can't sneak up on Alduin, that 100 sneak that I got at the earlier game literally only serves to power him up. After about 10 minutes have passed, Alduin falls. And yeah, that kind of concludes the run. I hope you all had fun. This is my first attempt at anything like this. Well, actually, I did attempt a bug-only challenge in Emerald, but that will never see the light of day. Either way, if you made it this far, feel free to subscribe and leave a like. Lastly, I would like to thank Goosit, Madrybread, and Mitten Squad. They were really huge inspirations for this and have, they're just amazing people. I would really recommend checking out their channels if you've enjoyed this whatsoever. Either way, I'll see you later. Hope you all have a great day. Bye.